Hey there, and welcome to the Do Life Big podcast. This podcast is going to be your jam if you want to live to your full potential and don't believe in half-assing anything in your life. If we want to do life big, that means we've got to get out of our own way because we only have this one shot to make it awesome. I'm your host, Kathy, and I'm a mom of three whose BFF is cold brew, a retired school teacher turned online entrepreneur, and an author. I'm loud, bold, and will always keep it real. I'm determined to live my best freaking life possible, and I'm here to help you do the same. I'll be packing this podcast with tips, motivation, inspiration, and strategies to finally get you where you want to go. And we will have a ton of laughter along the way because, let's be honest, we can't ever take ourselves too seriously, right? I'm so excited you are here with me today. Now let's get this party started. Hey, my friend, what's up? And welcome to Do Life Big. I am so excited to have you here today. And we have a really good topic today. And it's completely relevant to what is going on in my life. And I'm sure you're going to be able to relate to this too. But in today's episode, we're going to talk all about starting over again and having a beginner's mindset. I know, so hard to do, right? It's just so hard to do when you've been in something for so long, whether it's a career or a business or a relationship or whatever it is, and you've been in it and you've invested all of this time and it's comfortable to you. Like, you know it like the back of your hand. But at the end of the day, deep down, you know that what you're doing really isn't what you're supposed to be doing. It's not really in alignment anymore to what your goals are for your life. And you know you need to make that switch, but just that fear of starting over again creeps in and keeps so many of us stuck doing the same thing day in and day out, even though it's not really fulfilling us and making us happy. And so today, we're going to be touching on just the fear of starting over and how we can work around that. But then, not only just that, but the benefits of starting over and being a beginner again. Now, this is really relevant to what's been going on in my life over the last year because I had been running an online business for 9 years. And I got into this business as a way to be able to be home with my kids. And I was a beginner at that. I knew nothing about it, but I did it because I wanted to earn an income so I could be home with them and not return to my teaching career. And it has been wonderful. It's been a huge blessing for our family. And I will be forever grateful for that. And I learned so much and I've grown so much as a person. Honestly, if it weren't for that first business, I would have never had the confidence in myself to be able to start a podcast. This podcast just last summer. I would have never had the confidence in myself to write a children's book just out of nowhere, right? And I would have never had the confidence to realize that it was time for me to make this shift and kind of pivot in my life to this new business that I've been doing now for the last 10 months. And so it was about last year where I finally decided to draw a line in the sand and start over again. Now, I had this idea on my mind for about 2.5 years now. I wasn't feeling the same excitement and passion that I had for my first business that I once had. Kind of lost that spark. And I felt like I was really just going through the motions and I was just on autopilot. And I really hated that because I wanted that excitement and that fulfillment back again so badly. And it didn't matter what I did, I just couldn't get it back. And I could tell that I had grown from that first business and that it was ready for me to move on. But at the same point in time, I also kept telling myself the story that, hey, Kathy, like, you've been doing this for 9 years. You know this so well. So many people come to you for inspiration and with their health and fitness goals, and you've helped so many people. You've had such a big impact, and you're receiving a really good amount of residual income every single week. You should just keep doing this. Who cares? Right? On paper, everything looked great. But inside, I just knew that it was time to change, right? You ever have that feeling where you just have this little calling and this little feeling on your heart to do something different or to try something new or to just make this shift? And then you immediately talk yourself out of it. So I had been thinking about starting my own program, creating my first ever course for about 2.5 years. I knew exactly that I was going to be talking about mindset and that I wanted to help online entrepreneurs with their mindset. And I knew I wanted to do this because for the last 9 years, people in all different other online entrepreneurial spaces would come to me and ask me, how did you build such a successful business part time while raising little kids at home? And so I knew how I could turn this into a new business. I knew exactly what I was going to do, but I kept talking myself out of it and kept staying in my little comfy autopilot zone that we all get stuck in. And finally, after 2.5 years of me with this idea popping up and then pushing it back down, and the idea would pop up and then I'd push it back down and ignore it. Finally, last summer, I drew a line in the sand and I said to my husband, that's it. All right, I'm making a shift. I am going to go for it. I am going to create my first ever program for mindset. I'm going to help online entrepreneurs and I'm just going to do it. It's go time. And now, when I make a decision to do something, I don't know if you're like this, but this is how I am. Once I have an idea in my head for something, oh, there is no stopping me. Like, I am going for it and I'm going for it now and I'm going for it as fast as possible. Like, there's no looking back. And so I told my husband, and he was like, well, Kathy, if you're going to do that, then you have to go through this guy, James Wedmore's program, Business by Design. Now, I had been listening to James Wedmore's podcast called Business by Design for 5 years at this time. And he has always been so helpful with his podcast episodes, with business and all of that. And my husband said, he has a program, but Kathy, he only releases it and launches it once a year. And so immediately I was like, oh my God, seriously, once a year? And it was not even, and I'm not even joking, like 3 days later, all of a sudden it came out that he was going to be releasing his program. And it came out that he was going to be running a 3-day free live training called The Rise of the Digital CEO. And it was literally kicking off in like 3 days. And I immediately took this as a sign that this was a sign that I was ready to finally make this shift once and for all, and to make this shift into, you're going down this path now of creating your own course, your own online program to help other entrepreneurs. And it's funny because right now, if you're listening to this in real live time right now, he's actually running his free 3-day live training called The Rise of the Digital CEO. You can actually go and you can go to kathyreuter.com/rise. I'll put it in the show notes, but you can go there and you can register for it and you can go through it too. It was exactly an entire year ago that I went through this. And so if you're someone who's been contemplating doing anything online, creating an online course, creating an online program, selling a product online, I'm telling you, this guy is the guru of the online space. He's been doing this for over 16 years. He earns 8 figures a year with his business, and he just knows his stuff. Like, he knows his shit. And when I am ready to start something new, I always look to the expert. And so I knew that when I had this idea to start my program, that I had to go through James. I was not going to work with anybody else. So he's my business mentor and he's phenomenal. And so we have this training that's going on right now. And just like I went through this training and I was a beginner last year, sitting through these 3 days of his live training with all of this new information, and I had no idea what the heck I was doing. I had never created a program before, but I knew that I wanted to make this shift. And it was all so new. And I was learning so much through that training. And I was able to follow his steps and I followed his processes. And I'm a really good student. If you can be a really good student and follow what the expert tells you to do, you'll have success too. And I was able to, with the knowledge that he taught me, within my first 30 days, I was able to have my very first beta launch. And I was able to earn just shy of $10,000 in one night of running this webinar for my brand new program. And my point of this story is that we have this fear of starting over. But at the end of the day, we need to be okay with making the shifts in our life. Like, everything comes into your life for a reason. And I really do believe that everything and every person and every opportunity comes into your life for a reason, and it's there to serve a purpose for the time that it's there. And then it's ready to move on to something else. And we have to be okay with this. We have to be okay with, The idea of, well, I was doing this business for 9 years. Now, what are people going to say when all of a sudden I stop doing this and I start something brand new and I'm a beginner again? Are people going to even think of me as someone as knowledgeable in this area? Are they going to still look to me as an expert? What am I going to do? I have to find a whole new way to create a new list of people now, right? There's all these what ifs that come into your mind. At the end of the day, we have this fear of starting over. We look at it almost like, hey, well, we're going backwards. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to revert back to the bottom from scratch at the bottom of the barrel. But listen, sometimes you have to get off the path and turn around to get back on the right track, right? And you've got to be aware enough to know that when you have those little nudges, they're given to you for a reason and you need to listen to them. There's no such thing as going backwards. It's all just about making the decision to pivot when things don't feel right or in alignment in your life anymore. And that's okay. We have to stop looking at these changes as negative things. They're not. It's just you growing as a person and you pivoting. And then you're learning and growing, and then you have to pivot a little bit more, and it's okay. So if you have a feeling or you have a new idea that's on your heart or that's been on your heart, like I had for 2.5 years, it kept popping up, Kathy, you really should just go for it. Create this program, push it back down, pop up again, push it back down. If that's you, you need to know that it was given to you for a reason. It wasn't given to anybody else. It was given to you for a reason. And you do have what it takes to have success in that area and to make that change. And you are qualified to make this move right now. Letting your fears control your life is never going to get you the joy and the happiness and fulfillment that you're seeking. We're not meant to just be on autopilot going through the motions as the days go by. You're meant to love what you do. You're meant to love who you're with. You're meant to have excitement for your days, excitement for the present moment, excitement for the future. And you are the only one that has control over this. But if we keep letting these fears and these doubts of, well, what if it doesn't work out? What if I fall flat on my face? What if people see me fail? If we keep letting that control us, then we're never going to live out our full purpose here on earth. And we're never going to have that fulfillment and excitement and joy and true happiness that we're all deep down seeking. So instead of focusing on all the negative what if scenarios, that's what happens when we even think about starting over. Think about it. You're thinking about starting a completely new career. You're thinking about, all right, stopping this business and doing something completely new. You're thinking about leaving this relationship and starting a brand new one. The reason why we have fear is because we create all of these what if negative scenarios in our mind. We see in our mind all the reasons why it might not work out. Or what if it does go wrong? We see worst case scenarios. So I'm telling you that instead of focusing, it's just a simple shift in choosing what to focus on. If you're going to spend your time focusing on all the negative what if scenarios, then you might as well focus on the positive what if scenarios. What if this ended up being the best change of your life? What if this move to a new state was one of the best decisions you ever made? What if this change is going to bring you to that happiness and fulfillment and joy that you have been needing and you have been looking for now for the past 2.5 years, like I had been looking for? What if you end up happier and in more alignment in your life than ever before? Imagine that. Try that on for a second. How would that feel to be living that kind of life that way as that person? What if it all works out exactly how it's supposed to for you? I believe that. I believe that everything is happening for you. I believe that things come into your life for a reason. I believe that people come into your life for a reason. And I believe that everything truly always works out the way that it's meant to work out for you, only if you're someone who listens to those nudges and goes with that feeling that's on your heart. That's the only way that that works. If you ignore it and keep pushing it down, then you're just going to be stuck for 2.5 years like I was, feeling like, well, I guess I should just keep going through the motions. I guess I should just keep doing this. I mean, I'm an expert in this area. I know what I'm doing. The income is good. I'm making an impact. I guess I'll just keep going through the motions and be on autopilot, even though I knew deep down that I was meant for more and meant to go down a different path. I knew that I had outgrown that first business and it was time for me to grow to the next level of awesomeness. So instead of feeling fear, feel excitement. Here's the crazy thing about the way the brain works, right? The brain doesn't even know the difference between you feeling nervous and anxious and excitement. And when you feel that fear. So anytime you feel like that, choose to say, hey, this is me getting excited for some awesome changes that are going to come. I can't wait for this next chapter in my life. Here we go. On to the next adventure. Let's do it. That is the way that we need to approach our life. That is the way that we need to approach every single day of our life. And so the benefits of starting over way surpass the fear of starting over and staying right where you are, even though you know that it's time to move. So when you do decide to make this move, you're going to feel so much better. You're going to feel like a weight was lifted off. You're going to have so much more alignment in your life. There's going to be more joy, more fulfillment, more inspiration, more growth as a person. And you'll feel so much more in control versus just going through the motions on autopilot and staying in something because of the amount of time that you've already invested and the commitment that you've already put into it. Some things are just meant to leave them as is and move on to the next. It's so much easier and so much more comfortable to just stay doing the same thing day in and day out. It's what you've known for so long, so you stay. It's the only thing that you know, so you stay. But it's no longer serving you, and you know it. And so when you finally do make the decision to start over and go for it, the feeling once you get going is exhilarating. You will feel energized, powerful, in control, and you have a fresh new perspective and your eyes are open wider and you can see more clearly because of this change that you chose to make, because you chose to listen. You have a much more exciting outlook for your future. But you need to remember, at the end of the day, there are going to be people who are going to try to talk you back down to reality, to keep you in your comfy little zone, to tell you that you should just keep doing what you're doing because this is what you've done and this is what you've known and you're so good at it. Why would you stop? But you know that you're meant for more, and you know that you're meant to grow, and you know that this really isn't the path that you should be on any longer. And that's okay. That's awesome. So many people ignore it. And that sucks. But you are responsible for going after whatever lights that spark inside of you. This is your life. So don't ever get caught up in listening to what other people tell you you should do, who you should be with, what you should be doing with your time. You're in control. And you shouldn't settle for anything less than. Don't be okay with just mediocrity. We want greatness. We want exciting times. We want to feel alive. So don't settle for anything less. And I'm talking about in any area of your life. This is your career, your business, relationships, whatever it is. Don't be afraid of change. Embrace the change. Run to the change and through the change and get super excited about it, because I'm telling you, it is so worth it on the other side. Even though this past 10 months, I have felt like I have been a student these past 10 months. Every time that I sit down to listen to my business mentor and to go through trainings to better myself so that I can better serve you and my students, I am learning new things every single day. And I freaking love that, because I had been on autopilot for 2.5 years. I wasn't learning a darn thing that was new. I wasn't challenging myself at all. It was just second nature, day in and day out. And I hated feeling like that. It makes you feel so much more alive when you're learning something new. And now, even though it's all new knowledge and I'm constantly learning, I'm getting better and better and better. And I feel way more in alignment in my life now and way more fulfillment now and happiness because I chose to make that shift in my life. And it is okay to do that. I'm giving you permission. If you feel like you need permission to make the change and to do the thing, here is your green light. And here is me saying that it is okay for you to make that change and to make that shift in your life. You deserve it and you are worth it. And you have this idea, like I said, and this little nudge for a reason. You are meant to listen to those nudges. So I really love this quote. And I'd like to end with this. It says, "With great power and might, she finally declared, 'This is not the life for me. I am made for more. And she never looked back. And it is so true. You are meant for more. You are meant to have so much excitement and passion in your life and happiness and love and joy and fulfillment and to make an impact and to do what lights your soul on fire, not anybody else's. And the only person who can make that happen is you. You have to listen to that inner voice and don't do what I did. Don't push that voice down for 2.5 years. Learn from the mistakes that I made so that way you can get to where you want to go much faster than I did. Okay. So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I really like to share different things that are going on in my life and how I've worked through them so that you can see that, hey, I'm just like you. I go through it too. Ups, downs, bumpy roads, starting as a beginner again in multiple areas. And it is A-okay. Bring it on. And you should have that kind of attitude too. So I hope that it helped today, learning all about just starting over and having that beginner's mindset and the fear of starting over and how to overcome that and work through that. And really understanding that the benefits of starting over way surpass living in that fear of thinking about what's going to happen though if I start over and remaining where you are now. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. You know I love you. I think you're awesome. And I will see you the next episode. All right, see ya. Thanks so much for listening in. I really appreciate you choosing to spend your time here with me today. You totally rock. Hey, listen, if you loved today's episode, go ahead and tag me on social and go share this with a friend right now. Like, do it immediately before the day gets ahead of you and you totally forget. Couldn't be more pumped to be on this journey with you guys. Go make today awesome, and I will see you the next time.